Hey everybody, Vince Dowd, the founder of HijackedMind.com. I'm here in beautiful Bangkok, Thailand. I'm doing a 7-country tour in 14 days, teaching entrepreneurs how to make money in their businesses and grow their brand while impacting the world in a positive way. So I wanted to do my 3rd video on my Ayahuasca experience. Hopefully you've seen the other 2 videos. In the first one I talked about my first experience or ceremony with ayahuasca. And then in the second video, I talked about the wonderful experience that I learned about myself and about really humanity and the veils that dropped. In this 3rd video, I want to share with you a little bit about what happened on this level, which was a little bit darker. So we're going to talk about that right after this. Okay, so let me get into it. As you know, I went to Honduras, I took my brother, and we went down there for about a week to do 3 ayahuasca sessions. Now, the ayahuasca experience we had in Honduras was with an ayahuasquero, not with a shaman. But there was a purpose for me being there. Obviously, in video 1, what I shared is how ayahuasca was calling me. I went down, I prepared my body and my mind, and I had some amazing experiences, but it was very dark. I learned a lot, and I learned I needed to purge. I learned that the plant is really alive and we're connected to this web of life. So I actually cleansed myself energetically of a lot of things. In video 2, I shared about the wonderful awakenings that I had and the understanding of truth being downloaded to me like I had never understood before. So if you haven't seen those videos, I highly suggest you go back and watch videos 1 and 2 that I put up on ayahuasca. In this 3rd session, I kind of expected a much better experience, and of course, expectation can lead to a lot of suffering. So I thought since I had such a great experience on the 2nd night, that the 3rd night would be really, really good. Well, it wasn't. What happened is on the 3rd night, I drank the tea, and I went into a deep pain again. In about 45 minutes, I went into much deep pain in my stomach. I find that for me, oftentimes with ayahuasca, the pain in the stomach is very telling of something. And I don't know what it means, so I'm going to continue to go back and see if I can have a revelation of what that means. But this was not the most exciting experience. Actually, what happened is I just felt sick. And even if the Icaros were played on the guitar or the singing, it didn't do much for me. In fact, I found myself in a black void. And I guess I would call it kind of hell. It was like this darkness, and all I could feel is like the slithery movements of like a serpent, like a snake. I saw colors like purple and greens. I kind of felt like I was in a swamp. Like, this is a beautiful pool behind me, but I felt like I was in this dark swamp away from everything. And as I went through the swamp, you would feel, I guess, what it would feel like if you were very, very alone, very much by yourself, and nobody around you, nobody to help you. Just you alone in darkness or the void. And as I started to go there, if you think about that, you would actually cause yourself some suffering, because what happens is your brain, your mind will start to create these thoughts, and then you'll create a fear pattern. And I started to go there. I started to get very afraid of this dark place I was in. But thank God for yoga, because yoga always brings me back to remember that when I get caught up in my monkey mind, when I start creating via imagination, now remember, imagination takes you somewhere in the future, somewhere that's not true, but it takes you out of your present state. This is how a lot of people create a lot of stress in their lives. Or they go to the past through memory. Now, if they go to the past through memory, what happens is they end up really bringing back past experiences and reincarnating them on the present. So again, whether it's memory or whether it's imagination, they're both not true. The only truth is being present here and now. So by learning that in yoga, as I felt so afraid that I was alone in this darkness and this void, I ended up just coming back to my body and touching my mandala beads, my yoga beads, and I just started to breathe and focus on my breathing, inhaling and exhaling, making sure that I remember that I am here now. And as I breathed and started to feel that oxygen, I still saw the visions of darkness. I still felt like I was in the void. But the difference was I had no fear. I actually started to dispel that fear pattern. And I just decided to be with it as a learning experience. And as I sat there amongst the darkness and feeling the deafening silence. Now keep in mind, I could hear the things around me, the crickets and the nature itself, but I felt so alone. However, I just focused on my breathing, and I had this peace that came upon me. It's almost like, it reminds me of the Bible verse, although you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you fear no evil. And I felt like that's what happened to me. I actually went to this place where, because I was just being present, not imagining what will happen if I'm in hell, or not thinking back to the past experience of how great it was, I just let that be what it was going to be. And in this case, it turned out to be just a darkening, slithery, swampy darkness. And it lasted a long time. I mean, it seems like it would never end. But I just breathed into it and waited and watched. It became more like a movie to me. So I was more like becoming just part of the process, and it was like a movie. Now, I can't say I learned much that night, because I didn't. And maybe it was just healing on a different level. You know, in yoga, when you study Yoga Nidra, they talk about there's multiple levels to our consciousness. This is our gross body. The gross body is the mass. And if you look at all the mass around us, anything that we can touch, it makes up only a very, very small fractional part of the universe. And therefore, it's not real, but we think it's the most real thing because we experience the 3D reality so much. The fact is, most of everything is nothing. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to come to this place to understand that we can be okay wherever we are. And even though I didn't learn much, I know on these levels as a gross body, maybe nothing happened, or maybe something did happen through cleansing my body. But there are other levels of intelligence that we live in, from our emotional body to our wisdom body to our bliss body. So the bliss body would be considered the highest level body, which is where we store pretty much everything in our lives. I always use this when I teach Yoga Nidra as like cloud computing. If you think that our body is like a computer, it's the hardware. Inside of us is an operating system, which is all the encoding or the patterns or the lessons that we've been taught, all the fears and the joys and the greatness and all the things we've learned through life, we've picked up through our senses, the 5 senses. And we've stored those in our body, the hardware. We have an operating system running in our mind, which is like Microsoft or like Apple, and it's consistently being programmed. And a lot of times we get viruses and we hold on to energetic patterns. We're afraid to say what we need to say, so we hold that energy in, and that creates a blockage. We might have abuse, we might have things come into us that we don't release, and those things are actually uploaded to the cloud. So even if you clear the virus in the hardware, you still have the virus in the cloud. So the bliss body actually allows you, as you go through like Yoga Nidra, or maybe Ayahuasca, it goes up and it starts to clean these different levels of your psychology, of your consciousness. And even though it didn't seem so exciting to my mind that I was in this swampy, dark place all night long and it felt hellacious, maybe what was happening on a deeper level is I was being healed in many areas. Maybe some of these viruses were being swept like a virus, antivirus software. So that's all I can tell you on that trip. So I don't have a lot on that. Now, I will tell you, it is all part of the process. So the next video I'm going to share with you, I actually stepped out of ayahuasca. I went to Amsterdam, and for the first time in my life, I tried mushrooms. But I didn't do it in the way most people do it that go to Amsterdam, where they go in and they just want to get high. I understood now that plants are medicine. So I looked at the mushroom not as a fun drug, but more as a teaching medicine that will help me enlighten and remove veils. And I believe that by going into that, you actually go in with intention, and the plant knows it, and it will teach you according to what your intention is. Now, I'll share some cool experiences on what happened in Amsterdam, my very first time by myself on mushrooms, and the differences I had compared to some people that I saw at the mushroom store. So that's going to be the next video. I hope you come and watch. I thank you for coming to my channel. Please do subscribe. Like it if you like what I'm talking about. Share it, and I'm going to share some more on my next trip. And I'm moving to Rangoon tonight, then I'm off to Singapore, Hong Kong, and back home. So who knows where my next video will come from. But thanks for stopping by, guys. We'll see you on the next video.